Goddamn! Hoyoverse just asked the Starrail dev team, how much endgame do you want to put in the game? And the Starrail dev straight up answered, yes! Today I'm going to take you through the ins and outs of Screwllum's simulated universe expansion called the Divergent Universe. There may be a lot of new stuff and ways to play the game in this expansion, and it's bound to catch a lot of people off by surprise, but it's overall an extremely fun expansion once you get used to its quirks. Without further ado, the name's Leafy, and this is Casual Guides to Games, Starrail Edition. We'll start off with the biggest differences that this expansion has compared to the default simulated universe and the Swarm expansion. The first one being the fact that you can do both extrapolations and planar ornament runs. There are two extrapolation modes, which are the ordinary extrapolation and the cyclical one. The ordinary extrapolation works just like the normal Swarm extrapolation modes, while the cyclical one gives you a set weekly boss and a fixed set of buffs to play with, instead of giving you a completely random path for you to decide to use within those extrapolation runs. They also give you a weekly extra of 1000 synchronicity points, which are points that levels up your synchronicity level and gives you more Divergent Universe rewards. Don't be worried about having to complete it quickly, because unless you suddenly quit the game, then you'd have an eternity to get to the end of those synchro levels. And all the runs that you do here will also contribute to your weekly SU rewards. Now, if you go ahead and try to start a run, you'd notice these light blue dots under these characters, which means they are affected by this thing called mapping. As you can probably tell, mapping essentially maxes out every aspect of your character, bar the eidolons, if they aren't maxed out. It even gives your totally unbuilt characters relics and light cones if you don't have any equipped. Basically, this mode encourages you to try out any of the characters that you own and check out the playstyles of those that you wouldn't normally be able to use because you haven't built them. The only mode mapping does not apply to is the planar extraction levels. However, the process to being able to do that planar ornament run is not so straightforward. You'd have to complete an extrapolation run first to generate what is called a save file. To get to the point where you can make one, you'd have to do a run on either extrapolation modes and successfully make it to the end in order to gain the ability to save that particular run's blessings and curios. If you hop into one of those extrapolation runs, you'd probably notice one big change right away, which is the fact that you no longer get to choose and get a path resonance ability within this mode. Instead, the big balls damage enabler of this mode will be these upgraded forms of the Swarm Disaster's path resonance interplays that are now called equations. These equations basically work around the connection between the two paths listed on the card. To activate or expand on these equations, as they call it, you will need the designated amount of path blessings that the equations lists. These equations essentially gives you insane buffs which work from having one path directly connect with the other. And the more blessings you need of a certain path for that equation means that the buffs will be focused towards that particular path, while the other one path becomes something like its catalyst. When starting an extrapolation, you get to choose between 3 random 2-star equations, and afterwards you get to choose to receive 5 blessings that will include at least 1 to 3 blessings from a path of your choosing. Now for some of you, maybe you wanted to use a particular comfort theme and none of these equations you got matches the playstyle of said comfort theme. Now you will have 3 options that you can do from here on out. Number 1 is to just quit the run and restart. Do this until you get an equation that you're happy with and move on. The second option is to choose the one that you find to be quite interesting, get into the run, and just swap your team out, because unlike the other simulated universe modes, you can freely swap your team between anyone you want from your list of owned characters, whenever you want. So if your blessing luck turns out to be more favorable towards another playstyle that you happen to own characters for, then I encourage you to just try it out. You can also try to make up for your lack of playstyle strength using food buffs, but I wouldn't really recommend relying on this since you can only use them on ordinary extrapolation difficulties and not the torturous ones. So use them sparingly and don't make it a habit to rely on them. The third choice is to once again pick a path that seems interesting to you, roll with it for a couple of sections before you eventually come across one of these Workbenches of Creation, and swap out those equations for the ones that you wanted. I will warn you with that last choice though, because not only does re-rolling your buffs get expensive real quick, but the RNG can really kick you in the nuts. What's more is that you don't get an option to refresh them, and this applies to all the times where you get blessings. there will be no option for you to refresh acquired blessings in the Divergent Universe, so good luck. There is a way to get an extra blessing after winning your first battle, but we'll save that for later. Let's talk about that Workbench of Creation thing real quick, because they are an integral part of how your extrapolation runs will go. First off, it's adorable as shit. Secondly, these things are essentially what Herta's dolls are in the simulated universe, but you encounter them in all elite and respite domains and certain special domains. The ones that you encounter on the elite and respite domains will give you three options. One is to reroll your equations, the other is to rewrite your blessings to another blessing, and the last is to upgrade your blessings using these things called heat. That last one is important because whatever you do, always use those heat to upgrade your blessings every time you encounter a workbench, because it resets in every workbench that you encounter, which means you'll miss out on some free blessing upgrades if you don't use them. And don't worry, whatever combo of upgrade value that you do, it will always result in you finishing it up every single time, so there's no way for you to have any leftovers if you do use them. Except if you don't have any blessings, I guess. Tough luck if that is the case. These free upgrades also apply to free blessing overrides, but not towards equation overrides, so use those free blessing overrides at the start as well. On the other hand, the workbenches you encounter in special domains such as this one called Escapade will only give you two options, which will either be a combination of those last two options from the elite domain, or two options which are to combine your Curios and upgrade them to higher level Curios, or to reroll your weighted Curios. Now hold on a second. What are weighted Curios? Well, these are new types of Curios that you can gain from defeating the first plane and second plane elites and through various special occurrences. Instead of focusing on buffing certain in-plane occurrences, these Curios focus on buffing paths, playstyles, and elemental types instead. Kind of working like an extended form of those elemental resonances that you'd see in Genshin team building, except that they stuff it into Curio effects instead. Pick ones that either benefits your playstyle or elemental types, and they can help you skyrocket your damage even further. I swear to god, the kinds of damage you can achieve from this mode is insane. Look at what my Firefly does in a single Planar run.
Activate.
Of course, just like any other SU expansions, Divergent Universe comes with not only its own set of new occurrences and encounters for us to go through, but it also comes along with its own domains like the previously mentioned Escapade domain and the Wealth domains being the ones that I've personally encountered. Basically, these two are gambling domains, where the Wealth one makes you roll between random buffs or rewards for some fragments, while the Escapade domain gives you free rolls but a slimmer chance of getting a 3-star blessing. An important change, however, comes through the Elite domains. Not only do they now harbor a Reviver and the aforementioned Workbench of Creation, they also feature this mode called Excessive Conversion that begins after you first beat the Elite. Essentially, deal as much damage as you can to gain conversion data until you either run out of turns or until you beat the Elites again. With each state of conversion data threshold that you achieve equals to a chest that you'll get after you finish the battle. The first chest gives you fragments, the second gives you equations, and the third one gives you blessings. There's also no need to prep for that conversion stage because once you reach it, it will max out all of your character's energy and max out your skill points as well. So you can immediately go for your damage dealing setup right away. Do be aware though, the first elites you face between the normal phase with the one in the conversion phase will differ, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, after you've finished up with an extrapolation run, you will finally get the option to save everything you got in the run, and this will be that save file you can use to do Planar extraction runs. You'll also receive your designated amount of synchro points, and you'll also get these things called inspiration points. Now these inspiration points are the ones you can use in your inspiration circuit, which is the Divergent Universe's version of their upgrade tree. As per usual, you get certain buffs and special upgrades, like that additional blessing selection that I mentioned before, and a bunch of other things, so don't forget to use them. Though it is to be noted that while you won't be able to get synchro points and inspirations if you do an extrapolation difficulty that the game deems to be too easy for you, you can still save the run that you do there as a save file. The rest of the tabs at the front page can be explained very quickly. The operational record contains bits of lore that you get through collecting certain path blessings. The Gallery of Possibilities being a showcase of all the Curios, Occurrences, and other in-plane stuff that you unlock, and the Stable Computing Array is where your extra rewards will be located. After all that, you can then go and do one of those Planar levels. Just select which Planar sets you're aiming to farm for and select whichever save file you want to use for that particular run. This Planar mode is currently the only way to get the new Forge of Kalpagni and Duran sets. I'm not sure if this is gonna change into the future, but for now, this will be your only option. Oh, and do keep in mind that each of your save files will expire every week, so in the start of a new week, you're gonna need to make a new save file from new extrapolation runs. The last thing the Divergent Universe brings to the game is the Probability Museum, which you can unlock by either reaching Synchronicity level 10 and claiming this Road of the Mundanite exhibit, or by completing an extrapolation run on Threshold Protocol 1 and collecting the Herta Collector's Edition exhibit from the Stable Computing Array. The Probability Museum is basically a section of the Radiant Feldspar, which is now owned by us and the Astral Express, that you can use to showcase the various arts and trinkets that you can gather through completing various simulated universe expansion goals. The paintings that you showcase are simply decorative, but the trinkets that you display at your Probability Museum can provide you with certain minute passive buffs that will take effect in your Divergent Universe runs. Since the buff values are not all that big, you're free to use whichever one of them as you please. Just know that you can only display up to 8 of them at a time, and only the trinkets that are displayed will have their buffs be active. The Divergent Universe is also a great news source for Jades. From my calculations so far, you can get 1080 Jades from the Synchro levels, 530 from the Stable Computing Array goals, 360 from first time clearing the ordinary extrapolation difficulties, and 1000 from completing the Gallery of Possibilities, bringing it up to a total of 2970 Jades. And that is not including the weekly simulated universe goals and the achievements that comes with the Divergent Universe missions. Not a bad haul! All in all, I love the direction that they are choosing to go with these simulated universe expansions, which seems to be inspired by how they've handled MOC changes with the addition of pure fiction. Divergent Universe allows you to explore more playstyles of the characters that you own without you needing to expend resources in order to build those individual characters, and also allows you to further deepen the combos that your comfort strats can do. And with the new equation cards, it also encourages you to find more niche playstyles that might interconnect with one another. For those of you who crave more creativity with how you can play your team, Divergent Universe will be your perfect playground. For those of you who are looking for a challenge, keep grinding on that Threshold Protocol and break the difficulty barrier with even tougher enemies. That's about all you need to know about the Divergent Universe for now. I'm curious to see what other expansions they have in mind for us, since the Synchro level page does include a next expansion timer, and I can only hope that it gets much better from here on out. Consider leaving a like if you enjoyed this video or if you found it to be helpful in any shape or form, and do let me know what you think in the comments down below. Until the next video, my name's Leafy, and I'll see you all next time. Sayonara.